When you're able to design your own models for 3D printing, it opens up a world of freedom. Freedom to be as creative as you want. You're not limited by the original designer's vision. Here's a good example. Magnetic chargers. This one is for the Apple Watch. It's a very simple and elegant design, if you're into that sort of thing. But right when I saw this, I thought, oh, I can have fun with that. Just the creative possibilities here. And I wasn't alone. A quick online search showed how others use 3D printing to incorporate it into designs that allowed them to express their own unique style. I started thinking of a bunch of designs where I can incorporate it into and decided to choose one of those for this video. So I just bought this new motorized standing desk, and for some reason lately I've really been into desk aesthetics. A leather mouse pad, a new Logitech MX3 mouse with the matching keyboard. I decided that a charging stand that matched the design of my iMac would be a nice touch. So I designed my own charging stand and 3D printed it. It's my mini iMac watch charging stand. I'll jump into the Fusion 360 design in a minute, but first let me walk you through my approach. I designed this in 3 separate bodies: the charger holder, the stand, and the screen. The charger holder is designed to allow the charger to have a friction fit. It's very satisfying when you get this just right. The stand attaches to the charger holder, and the slit to allow the cable through also functions as a spring to allow for a secure fit and easy removal. Next, I wanted the screen to be able to swivel back, allowing you to easily place your watch and then simply swing it back into place. This type of hinge was created by modeling a little dimple that could rotate within a groove. These are excellent techniques that you'll want to take advantage in your own designs. After 3D printing the screen, I was able to easily snap it into place, and as you can see, the hinge mechanism worked exactly as intended. Now I can simply attach my watch and I've got the perfect smartwatch charging companion. You know, it's the little things in life. This video is a bit longer than what I usually make, but that's because I cover a lot here. I'm going to approach this design by using components instead of simply making separate bodies for each part. You'll see the advantage of doing this as it keeps your timeline for each part neat and organized, so that it's going to be a lot easier to come back and make changes. Designing with components also gives you the ability to add joints between your parts. I'll demonstrate this by applying a revolute joint between 2 components. I'll also touch on how to approach designing 2 parts that need to fit together, and I'll even jump into the surface environment to show you a neat trick to loft lines together to get unique shapes. I use this approach to easily design the stand. Alright, I've got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. If you're new to Fusion 360, you'll want to start with my free Quick Start mini-series. I've put a link to it below. It'll be the fastest and most efficient way to get up and running with Fusion 360. If you find that I move a little too fast through this tutorial, then I recommend going through my Quick Start mini-series and then coming back to this video. Vince, who went through this series, had this to say: "So glad to have found your videos. They are very straightforward, your steps are easy to follow, and you move at just the right pace." Thank you so much for this awesome series. I'm also trying something new with hosting live design sessions now and then. If you missed last month's session, I'll be doing a repeat where I'll take you step by step in designing my modified version of Benchy. During the live session, you'll have the ability to jump in and ask questions along the way. I've put the link below where you can register to join. Alright, let's dive into Fusion 360. Alright, we'll begin first by modeling the charger unit here. And if I remove the rest of these components, you'll see it's basically just an extruded circle, and the bottom part here, that stem that represents the wire coming out of it, is basically the same thing. So we're not going to 3D print this part, but you'll see that it's really important to actually model it because the rest of our design is going to be dependent on this part fitting perfectly within, the parts that I'll actually be printing. So I'll create a new design here, and let's first save our design here. So I'll just click save and give it a name. We're going to tackle this design with components instead of just creating bodies. So we'll first right click and go to new component. I'll give it a name, and this is just going to be, I'll just call this charger. Enter, and then we'll create a sketch on the ZX plane here. I'm going to start with a circle, so I'll hit C on my keyboard for center diameter circle. I measured this with my caliper, and it's a diameter of 27.6 millimeters. I'll create that, finish sketch, and E for extrude, select my circle here, and then we're going to go out 7.6 millimeters, which again, I measured that with my caliper. Now you'll see it came in red. You can, when you're working with components, you can have it automatically toggle colors of your components by hitting Shift N. So you can see it goes back to the default color, and if I hit Shift N, it's every new component I create is going to give it a new color, which will be easy to distinguish components. Also, you'll notice on the timeline here, it'll separate your timeline by the color of that component. Okay, next, to create the stem part that comes out of it here, where our wire is, I'm going to start with a tangent plane. So I'll go to construct, down to tangent plane, and I'm going to select that bottom surface, and it's going to create a tangent plane right there, and I can change the degree here by moving that widget, but I'm going to leave it where it is. Click OK, go to create sketch, choose that bottom plane, and then I'm going to create another circle here. C for center diameter circle. Now I also measured the wire, and it came in at 3.8 millimeters, so I'll type that in. And L for line, I'm going to draw a line going right down the middle here. And then I'll select that line, hit X to make it a construction line, and then I'm going to move the circle into place with just one click. Here, let me remove the body there so we can see that line a little better. And the one click is just going to be simply by enabling my midpoint constraint. I'll click on the circle, click on that line, and it's going to put it right on that middle there. Okay, next I'll finish that sketch. Let's bring the bodies back into view. E for extrude. I'm going to extrude this down 10 millimeters, and then we're going to go to where it says direction. We're going to change that from one side to two sides. We're going to bring that up. Now be careful, because once it's going through an object, it thinks you want to cut, so I'll have to change that back to join. Click OK. All right, and that's our first component there, and that's our charger. Okay, next we're going to create another component, and to do that we're going to right click on the top of our browser where our name is here. We're going to go to new component, and this part here is going to be the charger holder, we'll call it. This is what's going to hold the charger in place. So if I go back to my previous design, that's going to be this design, this part right here. Okay, so to do that, we're going to create a sketch on, again, the ZX plane, and I'm going to start with center rectangle. So create down to center rectangle. We're going to reference that origin there, and this is going to be 45 by 45 millimeters. So we'll create that. Now what I want to do is extrude this out. So if I click on this profile I just made, and if I hit E for extrude, you know, it's gonna basically just extrude that block. But what I wanted to do is extrude around my charger that I made, and this is where modeling that charger first really comes in handy, because what I can do now is project it. So P for project, and I'll click on bodies here, and I can reference the outline of that charger. So I'll click on it and then click OK, and there's that outline. Now if I hit finish sketch, E for extrude, look, it's just going to extrude the profile that's around that body that I made. So between my square here and that projected body. Then I'm going to project, or I'm going to extrude that out, and actually I'm going to reference the back side of that charger. So for extent, I'll change that from distance to to object, and then I'll select the back here. You can still see it's like shaded or grayed out, but you can, you know, still reference that back surface. And new body, click OK. Now I can see that I have that perfect cutout of where the charger is going to snap into. Now one thing I need to do is give this a little bit of a clearance, because I am going to fit that right into place. So let's untoggle charger here, the visibility of that. I'm going to hit Q, or go to modify and go to press pull. You see the shortcut Q there. Select that surface there, and my clearance there, I'm going to do a negative 0.1 millimeters, and it's just going to make this just 1 millimeter bigger, allowing that charger to snap fit into place. Okay, that takes care of the charger holder for now, and then next we're going to go ahead and create the screen, which is this part here. Okay, back to our design. Now to create that screen, we're going to make that also as its own component. So I'm going to left click, go to new component here, and then let's go ahead and give this one a name. We'll just call it screen. And we're going to start by constructing an offset plane. So construct down to offset plane. We're going to select that ZX plane. I'm going to go out 12 millimeters. So you can see here, -12, click OK. And then I'm going to create a sketch right on that new plane I just made. And again, we're going to start with our center rectangle here. Reference that center point, and I'm going to go out. The height is going to be the same as my charger holder. So we're going to go 45, but the width is going to be 60. And I'll create that, and then I'm going to create a smaller rectangle here, and this is going to be the cutout. So this is this shape right here, and if I reference this, I can see that it's 34 by 28. So let's go ahead and create that. We'll go to create, down to rectangle, center rectangle. We're going to make another rectangle, and that was 28 in height by 34 wide. Hit enter. Okay, now I'm gonna extrude this, so finish sketch, E for extrude, I'll select that profile there, and we're gonna come this way, a +3 millimeters, and click OK. Okay, so we have that there, and next time what I wanna do is have these arms that are gonna come out, and it's gonna extrude out to the back edge of the charger holder here. So what we'll do is we'll create a sketch on this back surface here, and I'm going to create a rectangle here. So R for rectangle, I'm going to reference that edge here, and I'm going to come down, reference that right edge here of this is just the charger holder part. You'll see that line there, you can reference it. And D for dimension, let's go ahead and make this 5 millimeters, and then the bottom here we'll just, that's already set to 7.5, so we can just click OK. Okay, next we can just finish that sketch. E for extrude, select that rectangle we just made, start dragging it out, and we're going to reference the back edge here of our charger holder. So extent is going to be to object. We can reference it, and you can see it's going to go out 19.6 millimeters, and we'll click OK. All right, so the next part is really important. That's what's going to allow this little sort of hinge mechanism here to work. And if I remove, let's untoggle the visibility of that charger holder there, and you'll see how that works. There's that little ball there, that sphere that I have there, and then if I bring back my charger holder, you see that it's got that groove in there. So let's go ahead and work on that. And to create that, I'm going to create a sketch on this inside of this arm here. Okay, first I'm going to project the body here of our charger holder. So P for project, click bodies, just click on the profile there and click OK. Now you see I have that outline there. So I'm going to hit L for a line and draw a line from that left corner to the bottom right corner there. And I'm going to select that line, hit X to make it a construction line. C for a circle, I'm going to create a circle here. Circle is going to be 3 millimeters, and I'm going to do the same thing to put it in place. Just grab my midpoint constraint, select my circle, and then select my line. It's going to throw it right to the middle. Okay, so to create a sphere, here's how I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to grab my line tool, so L for line, and if I reference the midpoint here and I go straight up, you'll see I get that dotted line showing me I'm right in the center, and then the X showing me that I'm on the edge of that circle. I'm going to left click and go straight down to reference the other edge, and you'll see I have a line there. See, that line is blue, so to make sure I am actually right going through that middle, I'm going to grab my coincident constraint here, click on the line, and click on that center of that circle. You'll see that line turns black, and now I can be confident that it is exactly intersecting that point, that center point. Okay, so next I'll go to finish sketch, and let's grab our Revolve tool. I'm going to go to create, down to Revolve, select this right profile here. I'm going to have a hard time selecting it, so what I'm going to do here is untoggle the charger holder, and now I can select it. And next I'm going to choose my axis, which is going to be that center line that I made, and you'll see it's making a sphere, but it's doing a cutout. I don't want to cut out, I want it to join, so I'll change that to join and click OK. And there we have it. Okay, next let's go ahead and mirror this to the other side. So we're going to go to create, down to a mirror, and we're going to select features as our type. For our objects, we're going to select it right from our timeline. So I'm going to choose that extrusion and that revolve, and then I'll go to my mirror plane here, click on select. I'm going to select that ZY plane here, and you can see I have a preview of it on this side. Click OK, and double check to make sure you have your arm and your sphere right there. Okay, so we are good here. So let's bring that charger holder into view. We're actually gonna click on the little circle here to activate it. What we're going to do is now use that sphere to cut out the shape here on that charger holder. So if I untoggle my screen here, you see that this is flat on both sides. Now when you do a Boolean operation, it's going to throw that feature on the timeline of the object that is your target body. So I'll show you what I mean. So we'll just anyway go ahead and activate our charger holder now. And I'm going to go to modify down to combine. Let's bring our screen back into view. And our target body is going to be the charger holder there, and our cut body is going to be that screen. And we're going to want to keep tools here and then click OK. And you'll see that the timeline is thrown here. Even if I have a different component activated, it'll still throw it on the timeline of the target body here, which in this case is our charger holder. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and untoggle that screen here, and you can see that I have that cut out right there. Okay, let's bring everything into view. I'll click on the top of my browser here to activate all my components, and let's take a look at everything we have. So we've got our charger, this is our charger holder, and then our screen here. Okay, so one final piece to make, and that's going to be the stand. So let's go back here and turn on that stand, and that's this part here. Okay, I want to show you a unique way how I'm going to tackle this. It's going to require us to go into our surface environment and take advantage of some of the tools we have there. But to start, let's go ahead and create a new component. So we'll right-click New Component, and we're going to call this our stand. You see it automatically gets activated. And we'll begin by creating a sketch here. So we'll create a sketch on the ZY plane here. And I'm gonna just sketch a rough sketch of my stand into place. So I'm gonna start with my line tool here. And I'm just gonna draw a line straight, and then I want it to curve. So I'll left click and hold. It's gonna transition to an arc. And then I'm gonna come up at an angle here. And then left click and hold to give it a slight arc. And then I'm gonna go at an angle like this. Okay. Let's actually, I don't need to see all the lines here, and it can actually get in the way because it'll want to snap or constrain into some of those. So instead I'm going to hit P for project, and I'm just going to project the outline here. I just want that charger holder, so let's untoggle screen. Specified entities, I just want this line, the top line, and the left line here. Click OK. Let's untoggle charger holder. Okay, so let's see how we're going to approach this. To go ahead and set some dimensions and constraints, we'll first start, let's bring in that screen. So I want this edge here to be constrained to this left edge. So I'll grab my vertical constraint here, go ahead and line those in place. All right, now D for dimension, I want this line to be 15 millimeters from that edge. So I'll create that. So I'm coming straight out here. Let's start from the bottom and we'll work our way up, setting some constraints. This arc here, I want that, actually let's make these tangent. You see how I have a tangent constraint here? I want this to be tangent to this line here. So I'm gonna grab that tangent constraint and select those two and do the same thing up here. I want this line to be tangent up here. Okay. So every point where I'm transitioning from a line to an arc, I want that tangent. All right, D for dimension, I'm going to give this arc here a radius of, let's go with 8 millimeters. And things are starting to be skewed a little bit. Move this back into place. But it'll fix as I go ahead and enter my constraint. So basically, I played around with this a bit, to get these dimensions that I want. So, I didn't get it on the first try. But now that I know what they are, I can come back and basically create them as I go. So this line here, I know I want that to be 42. Oops, let's hit escape first. Select just this line. We'll make that 42 millimeters. This arc, I want it to be 3 millimeters. Okay, now this line here, this part is really important. The reason I want this line to come at an angle and not go straight, here, let's go back to that original design here, and let's remove everything from stand, except stand. So I want this to print exactly in this orientation. So when I 3D print this, I want it to go like this. Now, if I make this come at 90 degrees and it's going straight, that would mean I would have to build supports or change the orientation of how I print it. So the best way to 3D print this without having to build supports is to actually have this come up at an angle. And that is going to join into our charger holder. And if it comes at an angle like that, then I don't need to build supports because that's self-supporting right there. So that's my purpose for designing it like that. And so what we're going to have to do is make this angle here. Go ahead and give that a dimension. So I'm going to hit L for a line. I'm going to draw a line straight up here from that arc. Let's make that a construction line, and then D for dimension. And I'm going to go with 60 degrees here because I know my printer can handle a 60-degree angle, you know, from the vertical. Now, usually you may have heard that the default is 45 degrees, so you may want that to be a little bit steeper, you know, but I find I'm using a Prusa, a Mark II, and it can handle 60 degrees pretty well. And the shallower you go, the more you try to, you know, get away with that. So if I go at 70 degrees there, that's going to have a harder time to print because now you're getting closer to vertical and you're going to need supports. So you may want to play around with your printer to see what you can handle, but I'm confident I can do 60 degrees, so I'm going to go with that there. Okay, and what I want is this line here to go into this part because I'm going to cut out that shape. So what I'll do here is I'm going to dimension this line. I know I want that to be 8 millimeters, but I want it to be 2 millimeters from this left edge here. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that into place. And I also want it to be 4 millimeters from the top here. So I'll place that. Okay, you can see it's fully constrained now. And I know I kind of did a lot there. So you may have to rewatch this to see everything I did, but just a quick recap. 15 millimeters that I referenced the bottom of that screen here, 8 millimeters on this arc, 42 millimeters on this line going straight, 3 on that arc here, and then this is 8, and then I dimensioned it 2 from the side and 4 from the top. Okay, and then I'm gonna click on Finish Sketch, so I have this shape here. And here's the neat thing I want to show you. Let me untoggle the rest of these components here. All right, so now to turn this line into this shape here, what I'm going to do is first create a few construction planes and then create some lines, loft those lines, and then thicken it. Okay, so let me show you. We'll first start by creating our construction planes, and we're going to take advantage of the plane along path here. Click on that, select my line. Notice here the distance 2, I'm going to bring that all the way back so that it says 0. Click OK. Let's right click and repeat that operation. Select this line. I'm going to go all the way up, and this now says 1, so it's the full length. So I'm at opposite ends. Click OK. Create a sketch on this first plane I created here. I'm going to simply draw a line. I'm going to make that line 50 millimeters, and let's go ahead and make that horizontal, right? Applying a constraint here. And next we're going to move that line into place by using that midpoint constraint. Select our line, select our point right here. That's going to move it right into place. Finish sketch. We're going to do the same thing with this plane here that we made, our other plane that we made along that line. So L for a line, I'm just going to draw a line, again making it horizontal there, and D for dimension, let's make that 20 millimeters. I'm going to use my midpoint constraint to select my line, and then you want to make sure you select the right point here, and it's going to be right there at the end of that line. Click Finish Sketch. Okay, so now I want to loft this line to this line, and I can't create a loft within my solid environment between 2 lines. You could only do that with profiles, but you can do it in the surface environment here. So I'm going to go to Create, down to Loft, select this first line, select my second line here. I'm going to choose my center line here for guide type, and for my center line I'm going to choose my line that I made, and you can see how it's now going to follow that line, transitioning from the 50 millimeters to 20 millimeters while following that center line that I made. Click OK, and next we're going to go to Create and down to Thicken, select that surface we just made. I'm going to do a -3 millimeters. So you'll see -3 because I wanted to extrude out and not inwards. So that negative sign is just choosing that direction. Hit enter, and there's my stand right there. Okay, let's go back to solid and let's bring that charger holder into place. You can see where it is here. Okay, now we're gonna have to cut out the stand from the charger holder. And to make the point here that I showed you before, that depending where it's gonna add the element is it's going to be your target body. So even though I have stand here activated, watch this. If I go to modify down to combine, select the charger holder as my target body, and then my tool body is going to be my stand. Keep tools as selected. Look at my timeline here. The last thing I did was thicken. I'll click OK. I don't get anything added to that timeline. But if I go and activate my charger holder here, you'll see that I have a combine operation there. And that's what it is. So it added it to this timeline because this was the target body. So just something important to note. Okay, so we're gonna stay here. I'm gonna untoggle the stand for a second because what I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and offset the top and bottom there. I'm gonna select both of those and hit Q for press pull and do a -0.1 millimeter. And that's gonna push those out a bit, helping that to fit. For the sides, I'm gonna do something different. Actually, I'm gonna hit Q again and set both of these, but instead of going out, I'm actually gonna go inwards, and you'll understand why I'm doing that in a minute. But this time I'm just going to go -0.5 millimeters. Actually, not negative. I want positive because I want them to go inwards. So, all right, you may be thinking, why would I do that? Because now this is definitely not going to fit because the stand is wider. But I'll show you why in a second. All right, so now that I have that, let's go back to our stand. I'm going to activate that. And the next part I want to make is this cutout in the middle here. This is going to allow me, when I slip the cord here for the charger, I wanted to go through the hole here, and because it's so wide on both ends, the only way I'm going to be able to get it to go through is to put a slit here and slide it through. And so you can see here, this part actually acts as a little spring, so I can like push those together, and that's going to push in, allowing it to fit right through this part right here. Let's activate our charger holder, and that's why I can bring those in a bit, because when I let go, it's going to push out against it and hold this into place. So the top and bottom will be like a friction fit, and it'll be pushing out against the edges, holding it in place. So just a neat technique there to take advantage of when you need to put two parts together. So okay, so let's go back to our stand. We're going to activate it and untoggle our charger holder here, and we're going to create a sketch here on our ZX plane here. I'm going to simply grab a circle, so C for center diameter circle. Actually, let's make this 4 millimeters. I'm going to move it into place here and line it to the center point here by using my vertical constraint here. Select the center of the circle, select the point, go back, select my circle. There it is, D for dimension. Now that it's in place, I'm going to dimension that 30 millimeters from that origin point there. And next I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, so R for rectangle. I'm going to make this 55 in length by 3 millimeters wide. Actually, you know what? We don't need to go 3, let's go 2. I just need that to be 2 is good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and select our midpoint constraint, select the bottom of that edge, and select the center of our circle here. That's going to move that right into place. Finish sketch. E for extrude, we'll select these 3 separate profiles, and we're going to extrude our circle plus that rectangle all the way through. We'll just change distance to all, click OK, and there we have it. So now, these edges can be squeezed together, and it'll go ahead and enter the charger holder. All right, let's do some fillets here. So to match the shape of my iMac there, I'm going to give these a 5 millimeter radius. And let's see, let's bring back charger holder. And let's activate that actually. Nothing we need to do there. Let's activate our screen here. And I'm going to do some fillets here. I'm going to select these 2 edges. Oops. Let's reselect that. I'm gonna hit X here. Get closer so I make my selections right. That edge, this edge, and then this bottom left edge, bottom right edge. If you accidentally select a face, just click on it again, it'll deselect it. All right, we're gonna go with a 2mm fillet there. Click OK. Okay, to see how everything fits together, we'll activate the top of our browser here, and then we'll bring all our components into view. Actually, let's just start with our charger, and we'll see that's going to slide into our charger holder, which is going to give us a nice friction fit there. And we've got our screen here, which is going to connect with this hinge mechanism here. And then we've got our stand, which is going to slide right into this portion right here. And again, that's going to be a friction fit plus a little pressured fit there. Let's bring this timeline all the way back. And then we've got our groove there, so our wire is going to come through here. We'll be able to slit that through, and it'll go right to the back. So that's all good. And finally, I'll just show you that the hinge mechanism, how that's going to work. So what we'll do is we'll create a joint. We'll go to Assemble, and we're going to create a joint. And that joint is going to be between the screen and the charger holder. So let me untoggle the visibility of charger holder for now, and I'm going to select just the circle here where that sphere is, the outline of that. And I'm then also going to now bring back our charger holder, and we'll select the corresponding circle there. And you can see there, it automatically went to, if I go to motion, it went to a Revolve joint. It was just the last one I had selected, but you can see there's different joints here. Revolve makes the most sense. We'll click OK, and I'll do a separate video later jumping into joints because it's really neat what you can do with this. But now I can see here, if I just double click on that little flag there, and you can see that I can simulate that joint. That's how it's going to work. So basically, I'll move this up out of the way. I'll place my watch here. It's going to magnetically snap to my charger, and then I can simply move this back down. So nice little mechanism there. And I can play with that. You can also do different things like set joint limits, but I'll jump into those in a later video. You know what? There's one mistake I realized I did here. It's going to be a quick fix, and it actually is going to allow me to show you one of the major benefits of designing using components as opposed to just creating a bunch of bodies. And that's going to be how organized your timeline is. So for example, I realized that this charger here, I made it too thick. I was supposed to extrude it at 6.6 millimeters, and I actually did 1 millimeter too big. I did it at 7.6. Normally, if you design everything as one body, you have a really huge timeline, and it's difficult to try to go back and find exactly where to fix that mistake. But when you're using components, all you have to do is just activate that particular component here. And all the features used to make that specific component are right there in your timeline. And it's just those that are specific to that component. So now it's easy to see what I had to do. For example, I made a sketch and then I extruded it. So I can just double click or right click and edit that feature. And I'm just going to change that from 7.6 to 6.6. So you see how everything is just neatly organized. And that's going to change that component. Not only will it change that component, but because when I made the charger holder, I made it reference the back of this. Watch what happens. Let me activate everything here. So if I bring all my other parts into view and take a look at this charger holder, that thickness, it also gets updated. See that it's 6.6. So, you know, and then everything else gets updated because then the screen here, when I extruded that, I referenced the back of this charger holder. So that also gets updated. So everything gets neatly updated. You know, it's one of the powerful advantages of having that parametric ability in Fusion 360. But yeah, thought I would just mention this really quick to show you one of the benefits of designing with components is that you can go back and you activate each one of these and you see that the timeline there is only specific to that particular component. So everything is very neatly organized. Okay, and that's our assembly here. great little project. This looks great on my desk. So yeah, have fun with it and make your own, or use the techniques that I showed you here, to do something completely different. But taking advantage of these techniques in Fusion 360. All right, hopefully you found this helpful and you learned something or picked up a new tip that you didn't know in Fusion 360. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what was the new thing you learned. Also, I know there's some really good ideas of what else I can do with this. Leave those in the comments below. I'll read through the comments, and if I see something I like, I may do a video on it. And it doesn't have to just be these watch chargers. There's also the magnetic, like regular phone chargers. I've got some ideas for those as well. But if you have any idea, leave them below. All right. If you're looking to get started with Fusion 360, check out my Quick Start mini series. Great way to get up and running quick and painlessly. And also the new thing I'm doing with my live design sessions. Check the link below. It'll take you to a page to register. If you missed my one from last month, I'll be doing another one soon. So just put your name down, and then I'll send you some details on that. Actually, click on the link, and that'll take you to a page where you can register, and then you'll get some more information. All right, guys, I'll see you in a week or so with a new video. Take care.